What is going on, everyone? It is Friday, August 7th, 2026. You're watching Trading Trends with John Salama, CMT. I got Rocco, we'll call him the all-time high Maltese dog today. There's an all-time high in IFA today. So we'll take a look at all the relevant charts on the day. Let's get right into it. It's Friday. Let's do it. I hope you guys are having a good one. Looking forward to the weekend. Only a couple months left of summer. You'll enjoy it. I'm a big summer guy. It's, ending. You know, it's not ending? The bull market. Let's take a look. So today, in summary, I'm doing this at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, a very below average day. We're on pace for about 35-ish million shares for SPY off a typical, an average, 50, I'm believing here? 48 to 50 million. So total summer Friday, but EFA March is higher. Today, there are big moves being posted. The gold miners and software, we had said before in last Friday's video, I believe, and the one before, we said, I can't believe it, but software is going to go higher short term. We'll look forward to get to that next congestion point, all that previous area of price discovery. We'll look at the charts. And gold miners, remember that, having to deal with higher oil prices. Gold miners having a rip roaring week. We'll take a look. Big moves higher while the dollar slips today, notably at a new all-time high, as I said, for ETH. When you step back from the week, it is Friday afternoon, so we step back. What happened this whole week? Big double-digit percentage advances here in the gold miners, Ark and silver. So they came for the metals to bid them higher, really when they had to. It was like that meme, wake up, silver, wake up. If you're going to get up, do it now. And boy, it had a very decent week. And Ark, when you have mega cap tech really start to lift, of course, Cathie Wood's basket is going to benefit. So without further ado, let us get right into all the meaningful charts of the day, the week, and at the end, we'll wrap up with the ye. All right. Let's see that. Boopity bop. All right. But my insights as we go here, but the market, it looks like a very strong place right here in terms of single stocks and ETFs, most traded instruments. SpaceX up 12% here off the lows there of since the IPO. They reported earnings a couple of days ago. Micron down 1%, S&P's up 0.5%. We'll take a look at that closer in a bit. NVIDIA up 1.3%, Tesla up 2%, AMD down 1.5%. Palantir continuing its post-earnings surge, up another 10% today. Intel up 1%, so color the White House happy. Gold up 2%. We're going to look at the gold miners making a almost 3 times that move. So we'll take a look at that, obviously, as we always look at the biggest Sigma movers. But gold having a big morning, big day. Marvell up 3%, and the overall semis complex through the SMH, more NVIDIA heavy concentration, is up 1.5%. All right, let's go to the intraday tape here. More and more important is really what happens come 9:30. I pay attention to the pre-market gaps. Of course, we had a kind of I don't want to say unexpected jobs number, but to the downside, I believe we lost like 23,000 jobs or something in July, and unemployment ticked down basically because of more people stepping out. So we peaked. The market loves bad news like that typically, because you get rate cuts, stuff like that. It could be a reversal of that kind of narrative. 8:30, the number came out. We peaked around 773 spot in SPY, and boom, what happens when liquidity, the actual big boys and girls, enter the room, took it higher. They bought it immediately right at 10 o'clock. I'm looking at that very short-based VWAP price of 771.60. They said mine, and they actually lifted it all the way to 774 even 11:30 a.m. right around the European close, and right when those Europeans were getting ready to go home for the weekend, right around noon here Eastern, they started slipping it, and now we're just trying to gather back to that VWAP level, which is now adjusted 772.20, and that is just a hair underneath where I told you we are trading right now live. So a little bit of a come down from the up 60 bits that we were, but still a very constructive day. I want to see us gather and hold 772.20, and then possibly from there we can go back to 774 strike by end of day. Let's get away from the noise and when in doubt, zoom out. I've been talking about this move. I was just messaging with a trader earlier this morning. We were going back and forth a little bit and was saying, I don't think it's going to last a couple of weeks, this rally. And I was basically in response to me saying the market's going to rip 3% and vol's going to come off 10% estimated. And I sent the note on July 30th. So that was not this candle, but this one here, the day after we put in those lows under 735. God bless you if you bought there. I said the S&P structure is absolutely doing fine as long as we hold 725 in SPY. The lowest it got 729. That's fine. And then for me, not for me, this isn't subjective. From June 2nd, the high was put in. You had this rectangle, not super long, but 2 months worth. And that is energy being conserved, bouncing from 760 to a worst case of 720, straddling 740 middle and going further. Well, guess what? Exactly, pretty much as that unfolded. We hit a high 2 days ago of 777. Here we are now with a little bit of a shaving down to 772. Basically, earlier forecast is still in play. I'm looking for the bullish accumulation phase to end on or around the 15th, the 14th rather, which is Friday, a week from today. And I said this in the Tuesday video. My target for SPY, and that's what I told the trader, is 770. Let me see here, updated here to the second here. Right around 772. So to me, it's going to pong around and do kind of these zigs and zags. And overall, I see us ending this bullish accumulation phase, as I said, in a week's time. And that'll set up to a mean reversion to a pretty clean level, in my opinion, to right on 750. What is it? The area from the former breakout, what we had in mid-May and earlier in June. And it also equals your 21-day exponential moving average. So market absolutely doesn't have to do what I think it's going to do, but this is a beautiful thrust from the 50 RSI line. We were doing nothing. Like I said, right after the highs, they said exit stage right, and it did nothing until July 29th. And then boom, once you get that breakout from the long rectangle, that's LeBron joining the Sixers. Things are different there. And here he is. I got to scratch out the cast thing. LeBron, don't bite him, Morocco. He's an animal, literally. But so is this guy, and we got him. Sorry to throw you on the floor, King James. So anyways, so that is my target, right around 772 here in the near term. We'll get into the hood. And like I said, in about 2 weeks after that, so end of August, right into that Labor Day period, mean reversion around 750. And yes, I know the market's expecting a Fed hiking potentially one time at the end, the end of the year. How does it fit into this? Everything's in the charts. The charts there's a mechanism that reads into the future, about 6 to 18 months in advance. I know it's a wide range. So says the genius and the GOAT Druckenmiller, and I believe him, and it's true. And everything's here. No one's investing in this because of yesterday's earnings. This is for future. Okay. All right. Let us get into the charts of the morning, the day, the week. Okay. So a big move here. So anything else in terms of SPY? I like selling this. We usually don't suggest index straight ETF trades on here. I guess this is a little bit, I don't want to say spicy, but if you're looking for, credits, you could do this 21 days out. That's when theta really starts to decay. So I would do almost like right here, the 740s, 21 days out, and you sell that and just keep on rolling. Essentially what's going to be somewhat like the 15 delta put. And you keep doing that. Alternatively, this is a raging bull market in terms of the world, so I wouldn't really just want to upside sell calls. It's not really worth it. Then again, you own the stock, worst case, but not really my call. And the last thing here, I want to show you, look at this movement, the volume in terms of green-red since July 24th. We've had 3 red days since July 24th. So that's 2 weeks. Just pretty much straight up, and that's how you get that energy. And really, really important, once we broke above 760, which is 11 points ago now, really formative. And God help the people that say, "Oh, I'm not buying S&P; it's so expensive here." Your new ceiling is going to be, your ceiling is going to become the new floor. Some people would have never interested remotely buying the S&P at 750 back in May, and I truly do think that's going to be your new floor into Q4. All right, let's look at a big move of the day here. GDX. We are calling for, I don't want to say the death of this group, but we did have a note. And let me check, because this energy is the largest cost to these guys. So high energy, although it's come in obviously a lot with the positive news, so says Besant's diary. One sec here, my screen is freezing. Look at the formation here, going right to, and this is very important in terms of the day. So it's up a monster 6%, okay? The high of day was 90.80, and they said, okay, let's calm ourselves. They reduced that by about $1.70, which is where I'm talking to you right now. The VWAP is 88.60. That's nice, and it's holding that very recently here. Gold miners have been in purgatory, not when the war started. Came off, it peaked in March 2nd. Yes, that was truly the weekend of the war, and that was the best that it got for the gold miners. Obviously, you saw what happened to oil surge, and these guys don't like paying for high energy costs. What's interesting is the 200-day moving average is flatlined, now just starting to go up by a couple pennies a day. The same thing we say for Ethereum, Chinese internet. I don't care. I just look at the charts. Now the comeback is on. That's a very important level, 87.5, a rising 200-day moving average. Could it have been in purgatory for just 2 months? Absolutely. I also want to know that this is holding 50 RSI for just 4 days now. So it's had really strong candles. This one's a great looking one. So now what short term and longer term potentially for GDX and trades? I do want to know this is a monster rally that started just a couple of days ago from $73. So trees don't grow to the sky. I haven't said that in a little bit. $73 to $89, $16 in just a handful of days. So, I mean, I'm going to look for these candles to get cut in half to see if it's, losing energy of some kind. But look at it's garnering energy here. 7% 2 days ago, 30 bips yesterday, not a whole lot. And today, 6%. So this thing is, again, like that runner meme, the guy on the road, like, oh, the buyers are getting tired. No, they're not. Right here, you're getting, obviously, a short-term moving average starting to stabilize. It hasn't been on the steps of this overbought since the month leading into the all-time high for GDX. A pretty interesting, important state that it's in. In terms of, let me see here, look at different time frames on other monitors as well. Make no two bones about it. This is a monster point. What you want to do, get if you're a bull here, is at least to straddle 87. You want to hold that 87 level. And then I will have faith back in this. That's what calls must be a signal, too, of the true end of the war, because this group will be back absolutely in vogue. Like what? Right before the war. So it could be a rotation back to this. But do understand, I'm looking at the money flow and the relative strength versus S&P. I could do an overlay and put that on the screen another time. This has been getting its butt kicked since right this period. Right when $96 spot said bye-bye, May 14th, this thing has truly been the ball bouncing off the table. Thankfully found the floor at $70 in mid-July and just a rampant run-up. I would look for it to take a breather here at $90. In terms of trades, next level of contention is $95. This thing could, do it by Tuesday. I like to do high confidence trades. I don't think you're going to get paid a handsome lot to sell the lower side puts. So I'm like selling the 73 August puts. It's really far out there. Maybe you just auto adjust to the 15 deltas if you think that the best is ahead of this group. But short term, just straight up technical analysis, this one looks to be at least catching a breather, and you'll know it by the looks in their eyes that it's up 3%, let's say, on Monday, or even sooner indicator if it closes underneath 88.60 today. It lets me know that they put their foot off the gas and it couldn't even hold VWAP on such a crazy, rambunctious up 6% day. You also have seen money flow improve in the last couple of days, as seen in the candle formations here. The candles before, terrible, and that's how you get a candle and a breakdown like that all the way down to $70. Candles red every time, closing near the lows of the day. And now it's a short sample size, but a massive run up here to GDX. I think you have a couple good more days ahead of you if you're long this group. ARKG is the second biggest mover of the day. Kathy Wood having a good day. It's not just the ARKG. It is also her basket of genomics, biotech stocks, plus ARK. Here is ARKG, and this one's also had a massive move off. This one's peaked just a little bit ago. I was an owner of this one back in June and July. Peaked in July at 44.5, and then pretty ugly fall down to 37. It's a volatile group. And look at this. You have almost a bullish engulfing candle, because it didn't really overtake the low from yesterday. Technically, it's supposed to swallow it up like Pac-Man. But this is almost 2 days of trading on this almost up 5% move. This group has been an absolute star, I want to say, since June 2nd. The S&P peaked, and then they rolled right over into biotechs and genomics. I know it doesn't look like it here with the sell-off, but the relative strength versus SPY has been impressive. This is, overall doing decently. In terms of target, short term, I think this one has a couple more days ahead of it as well. Like I said, this rally started at $37, $38. So it's already advanced quite a bit. My target for this is 43 even. I'm not calling for new highs here, 44.5. But this candle, it looks like it could do it. If you're long, I would continue to stay long. Super strong today. It's hitting high of day as we speak. Like I said, I think this could get to a crescendo of about $43 target. Trades. It's a volatile group. You might be able to get paid if you sell the August 39 half, whatever's closest to that strike puts. See what you get, and you get bullish allocation through a credit into the subsector that is biotech through this basket. And we got to talk about, it was a big night last night for earnings for some software, and now we say, give me a couple of closes, software or any instrument for that matter, above a 200-day moving average. This one's still falling, the 200-day, so I give us a tight leash. I say give me at least 3 to 5. Look what it's done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today is set to be the 5th day. IGV, bravo. You're set to close above your 200-day moving average. It has not been able to do that since Christmas week 2025, just so you know. And that was 8 months ago, so quite a bit. I would look for this. My target for this before and still is truly, to be honest with you, right around $101. So it was interesting rejection 2 days ago at 104 essentially. And then look at the sales immediately. The next day it went to 98. So be careful. This is absolutely folks on one side of the boat, high short interest. And then it goes back the other way. That's why I want to see the 3 to 5 days above. What I said before for Chinese internet was what you want to see in this as well, is that you want to see the old resistance become new support. It is very meaningful. I think this is going to mean revert over the next 2 weeks. It's possibly going to try to meerkat one more time towards 104. I don't think it's going to, but it's been a really positive tape, up 3%, and it's been impressive. When it's mean reverse, and I fully expect it to over the next 2 to 3 weeks, if the floor can be $94, the trade in software is back on, and that's just going to be overall good for markets, confidence, even though consumer sentiment won't let you have it, because that's less people or more people losing less money, and you might even see crypto and that type of growth catch a bid. So this is overall very constructive. It's crazy. Now we're counting the days over above a 200-day moving average, whereas right now I'm counting the days under a 50 RSI since June 30 has been like, what is this, 4, 5? So impressive, nice profile, constructive, working since, let's call it America's birthday, July 4, with a low of $87 to 102. In terms of trades, they love this group. I don't love selling the upside in this. If anything, I would sell the August 90 puts and see what that gets you. Yes, it is $12 away. This thing's been a one-way train. Again, don't forget, this rally started July 24th. This is about 2 weeks ago, from $88 straight to 102 essentially. And it's got its first heat check 2 days ago. So, but I do believe this new floor in 2 to 3 weeks is $94. The trade-in back in software is back on, and this thing could eventually try to target 120 potentially. All right, those are the big movers. They're loving it today. Gold miners, the genomics, everything, Kathy, really, including Ark and software. Let's see what they're selling, and there's only one. I could have included copper, but the dollar is what we're going to pay attention to today. The dollar put in a 52-week high on July 27th. We don't talk about the dollar a whole lot, although we talked about it a couple of times. We talk about when it has multiple standard deviation moves. It's typically not going to be on my weekend most alpha given or lost because the moves are not massive in terms of absolute. But we will talk about it in terms of relative, and that's why we're talking about it today, down 0.5%. It's a big move. That's actually like 1.5 sigmas for the dollar. This thing exit stage right here after the 52-week high. I know some people look at the Bloomberg Dixie, very similar, obviously, methodology and in terms of peaking. So July 27, 28.60 hit here. Beautiful rising 200-day moving average, pretty much just stalemate here at 27.73. This has not been above 50 RSI since the day of its 52-week high. So interesting to note. I would look for this one to base, albeit a little bit lower. This one looks like it wants to test, not come to the 200-day moving average, but look at these candles. And we're looking at, what is this? This is 6-week lows here. I would look for this not to test the 200-day moving average itself, but somewhere in the middle, to be frank, probably like a 27.90, just a little bit lower, somewhere in between, basically coinciding with these early June levels. and that will be the end of that. And then I'll look for this to mean revert back to this area of 28.30. It's tough to talk about in terms of absolute moves because you're like, what, you're talking about 13 cents? It's 40 bips. Who cares, man? But it has an effect, obviously, on the dollar, on rates, etc. So look for the dollar to base here at right. I'm looking for here. I think potentially that low this morning at 28.04. If it holds 28.07, you could potentially get a reversal. I would give it a couple more days though for the dollar to get towards 28.30. But again, it has had quite a fall in the past week and a half. And they're selling it today pretty significantly, hence also a big bid in the metals itself. All right, top three gainers the past 5 days, talking about metals itself, the best ETF in all the land. Rubber band go one way, rubber band go the other way, slingshot very aggressively. That's where you can make, a lot of coin here underneath 200-day moving averages when something's been, look at this. They didn't think about selling their gold miners until when? Boom, mid-May, and then really it's been in purgatory, or if you want to call it hell, ever since until today. It's touched its 200-day moving average. The issue is, look at the candle that you got here in mid-June. It did this almost same exact, not quite. Today it looks stronger. Look at the RSI reading as well, confirming the internal strength of 70 overbought. You didn't get that since a beautiful, truly rising uptrend. So there's a little bit more strength. This potential, like I said, we talked about this in the first opening because they're gobbling it up today, up 6%. This has had a massive week. The reason we're talking about it is this is up 20%, a fifth of value. This isn't a leverage ETF. This is a 1x GDX. These aren't the juniors. This is the majors. That's up an average of 4% a day today, bucking that trend and getting more. So it lets me know I think it wants to do something like potentially $90, $91. And then ultimately, it's getting very close to, in my opinion, of hitting a ceiling of potentially $93, something like that. And then possibly, again, trades I like would probably, sell the 74s, 73s in August for the gold miners. A massive, massive week. I think has a little bit more to go just based on the candles, not even giving up the ghost yet. All right, let's get back to Kathy Wood. This is her ARK basket. Had a fantastic week, up 10% this week or 2% a day. Today, up 4%. Congrats to you, Kathy. This looks like it has a little bit more to go. I have more confidence to say in that. So this just kind of got going a little bit, like I said, 10% ago at $70 spot. You're not late in this. It started on August 3rd, essentially, 4 days ago. That was Monday morning. This looks like it wants to get to about 81, if not this 80, comfortable saying this $81 area. So I don't like chasing like this late in the games. I wouldn't ordinarily say, by the November 82 calls. Instead, I'd probably more so go with a higher, confidence trade and say something like selling the 72 August puts. And then always, like I say, buy the next strike below it against it to subsidize trade. And when you collect basically 80%, you take it off. You do it over and over. Otherwise, if you're really addicted to buying, 200-day moving average, and this is still going down by a nickel, would like to see some stabilization in this. Candles are monster. It looks like to me it wants to get to that $81 area and view up on the day is 78.15. They said mine, and it literally just hit a high of day about 30 cents ago. So very a good looking move for ARK, and it's been all week, not just today. And then let's get to what people were cracked out in when 2026 started, silver. And look at this, gold miners. I love seeing divergences like this. So gold miners got to their 200-day moving average today. That's 1x. Miners have expenses, right? Silver is the actual commodity. It goes into a lot that we need, AI trades, electronic cars, blah, 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 blah. Look at this move today. So up 2.5%. This group clearly peaked. This is SLV. On January 29th at $110 essentially. And now we're we're above 50 RSI for just a handful of days straight for the first time since this oopsie in mid-May. Now what? Don't like this candle. Just immediately looking at it, you're like, what? It's up almost 3% today, John. What are you talking about it? So the view op today is 57.69. It's below that by 40 cents. I know it's up 2.5%. I like to see strength continue. To me, I was already saying the upper band, $57 was as good as it's going to get after it sprung from 40, where is this? Right here. August. To me, the rally started when it got off. This was a longer, more frustrating one. To me, this was close to July 17th when it started at $50. So and the 200 moving average for this is going up. I can't believe it's going up. It's still up by a nickel due to this massive velocity and momentum it had in January. So gold miners up, but they're enjoying the less costs of reduced oil price. This is actual silver momentum trade with that kind of candle formation. We're talking about it because it's up almost 2% a day. And today, more than that. This just looks like to me, if I was looking at the chart and taking off the ticker, this looks like to me this ticker would get tired around 58. And today it hit 59 almost, and I got the Kembe. So I don't know a lot. I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in it going a ton higher. There's a possibility this 200-day moving average will be a magnet at 64, but I think it's getting a little bit tired. I'm kind of, surprised at how weak it is getting. Trades. This one's like a wait and see because I'm genuinely interested to see, does it go march towards 64 or does it stay around here and get tired? These candles are not super convincing. I know it's had a huge 9% week. Maybe a little bit more to go here. I wouldn't gamble and do the November 59 calls, although I guess you could. Probably something better would be selling the 54 Augusts and buy puts and buy the 53s against it. All right, let's continue moving on. The top three. So those are the big movers of the day, of the week. If you own the gold miners, ARK, silver, congrats. You absolutely crushed this week. Those were the absolute best ETFs to own. Top three losers of the past 5 days. If you own these, yikes. No bueno. And guess what? I told you not to own oil yet. It is still a no touch. And guess what was the biggest loser in all the land, anywhere in the world? USO, down 7% this week, or more than 1% a day. Today, potentially reverse up 50 bips. What I said for that is look for this debase. I'm not going to call it a falling knife. The 200-day is still rising. It is sub 50 RSI. But it is impressive. 2 days ago, the floor it put in at 114 also matches the Dikembe price from July 8th. The market does have a crazy memory. What I still think here is it gives a couple of days to base. My floor on this is, I may have said it in the video last week when I said still no touch, and then I think it is a pickup potentially, but of course you're going to be headline exposed. You don't want the word to end. This thing is going to go probably easily to the 200-day. So I'm just following charts, not best since diary. Look for this to base sell. I don't think it's ready to lift off, although it's looking strong again. I love what's happening today too. VWAP is 118.90. They said mine. That's the candle you want to see. These nice little hammers. So the move could be on. I'm not quite sure to call it yet. Otherwise, the cement, the confirmation will be once the close is above 122. Should it, then I do believe it will start marching towards this 127 area. So basically, in terms of risk reward, I need 2.5 points to then try and garner those 5 points, if you will, and then you buy essentially November call spreads. For right here, in terms of trades, I would wait for it to base, not super high convincing. You can sell the 114 puts. If we do a strike at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon, this whole thing goes obviously kaput short term. So always be aware that you're super headline driven. While we're talking about it, the worst ETF in the world this week, down 7%. If you own the USO or almost anything oil related, you had not a so fun week. Number 2, volatility. I said the VXX was going to have about a 10% reduction when the markets climbed 3%, and that's essentially what it did. All-time lows yesterday in VXX, also UVXY, not dollar VIX through the SIBO futures. They're done a little bit differently. This borrows Ipath has to borrow, and then there's contango, so they basically lose money on every day. That's what you never really just want to straight out own VXX. You're better just buying puts on SPY. So that's why we don't suggest call trade ideas. It's just more for the environment of the market. Look for this to base. So this is the inverse of what I said for the S&P at the beginning. So if I'm seeing another week of bullishness for the S&P, I'm seeing another week or so of weakness for the VXX. I'm just doing that now as an inverse through symmetric accounting. I'm looking at the chart. Give this a couple more days to base. I still like 19 handle for this one. and then I'll know that that's it. It got to 2020 yesterday. I think it's got a little bit more to go to, like literally 1999. Are you out of your mind? But no, seriously, something like a 19 handle, and that'll let me know that that's it. And then that'll very likely mean revert towards the end of August to 21.5 to 21.75. Pathetic, and that'll be it. VXX, the second worst ETF in all the land, down 5% or 1% a day. Today, barely getting its britches underneath it, up 15 bips in an uptake. And lastly, the other loser this week, Brazil, commodity-rich nation, oil go down, Brazil also go down. This one's been in purgatory since June 5th, monster rotations. Like I said, when June came on the calendar there, and now we're under the 200-day moving average again. So really an ugly-looking candles. This could not take out $37. Don't forget, Brazil peaked mid-April into the war. EWZ, it's been a global bull rally, but Brazil a little bit on hard times here just by the touching the 200-day moving average. It's interesting as well because the 21-day exponential is 35.80. There's a lot of meaningfulness at this level of 35.70. Okay, we'll just square the differences away. It's the monthly average and the yearly average. So you want to have it maintain that level of 35.60. Very important. Right now, it's below that by 20 cents. VWAP also in the day, 35.60. So it's like a triple double, very meaningful on Brazil. I think this one is falling on hard times for like another week or so. I don't think they're going to flock to it due to the correlation, the way at least it's being played with oil right here. So I'm bearish oil, wait for that to base. Kind of similar stance on Brazil. I think this one gets close to a 34 handle and lets me know that that's it. And then a bounce towards that 35 to 36 area. I do think this ceiling will hold for a little while of $37. It's lived there since mid-May, and you got to be careful of that. So I'm imagining my almost like the rectangle in SPY, I'm imagining a lower placed rectangle on EWZ. So selling strangle calls out to me something like the August 30, get as close as you can to the strike of 37 quarter if possible, and then selling this 33 half and then rolling that. Looks like it could be in a longer period, and then you know you're wrong if one of those breaks. I like that trade for August expiry. All right, so they hated those this week. Oil, volatility, and Brazil, if you own those, no bueno. Top 3 trades of the past 5 days, if you were long gold miners, Ark, actual ARKK, and silver. Congrats, you absolutely king slayed this market. All right, my favorite part of the show, and we have a new number one. It was very close, 1-2, 1-2. Literally did by 20 bips, and that's kind of detail we pay attention to on this program. Number one year-over-year winner, the king, since last August 2025 through today to the second. Stocks up 124%. Yes, it just nudged EWI after EWI fell on a load of hard times, and boy, did the semis find their footing. A lot of people were super bearish on this group right here, as recently as last week. And yes, the relative strength versus SPY started to get a little ugly, and the money flow was ugly. You can see they were starting to sell off. And this thing has still, I want to give semiconductors its flowers over the past year. It is the GOAT. Well, Goy, I guess the greatest of the year. But this thing has not been above 50 RSI since the week of its all-time highs. So be careful. Short term right here. I think it's truly, look at the intraday tape right here. VWAP is 541.20. They said mine. And high of day was 550. And they said, whoa, easy, Tiger. Let's get a little bit back to earth. And that's why we're trading right in the middle of the day, which happens to be VWAP 541. What I'm expecting here is honestly straddling this 535 level. So I'm going to imagine a little bit of zigs and zags. Don't love that there's, a near-term ceiling of 550 on this stock, on this ETF near term. So I think it's probably going to try and nudge and meerkat and bump its head a little bit towards that 550 again, get tired, and then rest and mean revert towards 535 in terms of trades. I'm curious of what the August selling the 580 calls would look like and buy the 585s against it. Or alternatively, you could sell the 465 puts for August and then buy the 460s against it. That's the move on semis. The leader of the past year, up 124%. Let's take a look at number 2, and it just barely gave up the crown for right now. It's South Korea. Anyang, South Korea. Hello. Up 123.8. It's basically both 124 and obviously AI memory versus semiconductors. They are in bet together. Here is the chart for South Korea. Just look at that. Then they hung in right there. July 29th was capitulation, short term for both groups. This peaked on June 18th. For EWY here, I think this has the confirmation would be I love a close above 168. I'm not super convinced of these candles short term. I also don't love the short term ceiling that it's had in place at 174 in the past month, let's say. And this has been a very powerful rally already since 151. It's not nothing. 150 to 164, $14. Almost what is that? 8% from the second leader of the past year. I think to me this is a crazy group. I think this wants to get towards 175. So it's kind of a gamble. You're pretty late in my opinion, in terms of the rally for this leg. But you could do something like that. No, it's expensive too. But the November 180 calls, and you sell the August 180 calls against it. Alternatively, you could sell the 142. It's almost a contra trade or a similar mirror trade of selling those SOX puts. You would sell the July 29th low, basically. You would sell the 142 puts in EWY, if it's even listed, whatever's closer. And then you buy the next strike against it to subsidize. All right. And then number 3, this is a new one too. It's very close with biotech, very close. But we are going to give it its flowers. Copper miners, the number 3 best trade of the year. And I'm not saying year to date, more meaningful than that. I'm giving you all 52 weeks from last August. Copper miners, this group peaked back here almost like with silver, okay? January 29th, almost look at that, 99.99, so we'll call it 100, paw. And then this thing fell into purgatory the end of June, and it's trying to have a formidable breakout here. Since July 17th, this thing's been rallying $72 to $88. Look at this candle today, up 2.3%. VWAP at 87.84. They said mine, and it's close to hitting a new high of day. CopX, the number 3 trade of the year. Okay, so they moved away from gold miners, silver miner juniors. This is very constructive. I would love to see it continue closing above 86 even. Every day it does that is energy to go higher. My target was 85 to 86, so it's outperforming in terms of trade. I mean, this has been, like I said, a monster rally, and it's just gathering above 50 RSI for the past week. So really, like jet fuel, I'm seeing the burners go. Look, a monster gap. It all started, a huge catalyst was on the 4th of August, 3 days ago, that 6% gap up. And likely it doesn't even, go below that going into the future. So in terms of trades, it looks like it wants to potentially, crazy to say, $90, but I would just stay long if you're long. I wouldn't be personally opening a new position. Although if you had to, I'd rather obviously go long than short. Just understand this has already begun 15 points ago or so. Mean reversion point next time when it does come down, I bet you it fills that gap, $80, and then does zoom higher. This is the number 3 leader year over year, up 95%. So it's not getting tired. So you know what? Let me just reframe that then, because this thing is a massive mover. Every close above $86, super impressive. Trade, see what you get for the 78 August puts to sell those, and then sell something at the next strike as always against. All right, that is it. Peace. We will talk to y'all next week. Deuces.